So hello and welcome to the Dharma Life podcast. I'm your host, Aloise.life Middleton, and today I've got with me an incredibly talented guest who has not only made music his profession, but has gone from recording artist to singing bowl specialist. Ben Carroll, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here and good to see you again.
Well, I knew I wanted to get you on the podcast, Ben, when we met at the summer solstice event with Josh X, because I loved your music. I just thought it was so moving, so incredible. And actually, you very kindly, I don't know if you remember, but I was feeling exhausted after that event, and you actually sent me some music to listen to kind of rebalance me. And it was just so powerful. Yeah.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And I had I'm very sensitive to energy and to music. And I had this kind of weird, energetic experience whilst listening, just meditating and listening to your music. So it's very powerful stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
So do you mind sharing with our audience a little bit more about who you are and what you do in the world?
Absolutely. So, my name is Ben, and these days I'm living in Maine in the States, kind of tucked away out of the city, not completely the middle of nowhere. And I'm doing a lot of sound work, a lot of sound healing work, which I've been doing for several years now. Before the world shut down, I was traveling all over New England, doing big group events and traveling down the coast a couple times a year. And then when the world shut down, I actually switched to doing online events, just kind of moved into doing that, luckily. And what I've been doing and what I've been called to do is working with people utilizing sound, which is a really potent modality for so many people, and specifically working with groups of people to work on integrating the energies that are coming in right now, causing a lot of these shifts, helping to sound is a really powerful medium. It helps people to kind of get down past the part of your consciousness that's always kind of yapping at you and dictating your life to you. And if you can get down past that, achieve deeper states of consciousness, you can access areas of consciousness to allow you to integrate some of these things that are coming in, as well as do a lot of releasing, because there's a lot of shifting and integrating and releasing that has been going on and needs to go on these days. So I've kind of been called into doing that work.
Amazing. So you're definitely doing your soul work. I can really this testament to listening to your music. It's so what you came here to do. And actually, whilst we were having technical issues, I was connecting up, and you did this in Atlantis, was what I got.
I'm not surprised. I've had lots of interesting pieces of memories of different places. So
amazing. And it's no mean feat to make a living out of music, full stop, to let alone, because obviously the narrative, is get a job, get a proper job. You can't make a living out of music. You can't make a living out of art, So I'm very impressed that you said that you'd been a musician right from the outset, from 15, 16.
Yeah, I've always been called to music, and it was always my main focus. And of course, in society, I was told that in order to be a successful musician, I had to get signed to a record label and get songs on the radio and all that. So I ended up doing that. When I went to college for music. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. And for a while, and then I kind of got to the point where I felt like all I was learning was stuff I would actually only ever use if I was going to teach it. So I decided to take a break and go out in the world and actually play music. And within less than a couple of years, the band that I had joined, founded, signed to Universal Records, and things just kind of took off.
Wow.
When, all of a sudden I was playing really big shows, living on a tour bus, at 25 years old. It was really intense.
Yeah.
And I did that for, a good 10 years, released a bunch of albums that did well, sold a lot of albums and songs on the radio, even got to see myself on MTV before that whole thing completely ended. And yeah, it was an interesting job, but really ultimately, it ended up feeling kind of unfulfilling after a certain amount of time.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because obviously a lot of it, like that's an incredible career as a musician. So was it rock music that you were doing?
Yeah, I played in a rock band, played guitar.
Cool. Fantastic. And that's an incredible career, in music. But I was going to ask, like, what prompted the transition that like, because often what we do is we evolve out of what we're doing. So I'd be interested to hear, because that's the transition that a lot of people are experiencing, I think, now on the planet. They've kind of woken up recently, in the last year or so, and obviously they're in their 3D job and they don't resonate with it anymore and they want to go and do their soul work. So how did you make that transition?
Well, the band that I was in is a band called Ra, like the Egyptian sun god, which is another interesting synchronicity.
Yeah, massive synchronicity.
But that band ended up going into hiatus around 2009, 2010. And at that point, I was, I was really sick of living on tour buses. And really sick of spending all my time in cities. So I decided I was going to move up to Maine to kind of decompress for 6 months and figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And got up to Maine and just started exploring a lot of different things. I was in a good position where I was able to, I just started teaching guitar. I was teaching guitar twice a week and gave me a lot of time to just kind of explore. I started, taking meditation classes and studying Reiki and doing a lot of hiking, getting out into the woods and just really allowing myself the time to just not worry about it and just kind of float and figure out what I was going to do next. And around that time, I discovered singing bowls. I went to my first sound healing event and it was just like instantly captivated by the singing bowls. Because if you've ever experienced singing bowls or any kind of sound healing, but singing bowls in particular are really potent. They have a really powerful way of just kind of lulling you into a state of mind that's just pure peace. And I was just instantly in love with them. But I was also just curious what it would be like to sing with singing bowls. So I ended up getting a bowl and bringing it home and singing with it. And it was really interesting the way the voice and the bowl kind of interacted. So of course, within a couple of weeks, I had 8 more. So
Sure.
I had a whole singing bowl set up. And that just became something I was doing for myself. I started, just singing with the bowls every morning. It would be my own personal meditation. Just kind of completely letting go into it and singing for anywhere from 20 minutes. And time often got away from me if I didn't have anywhere to be. And 3 hours could go by literally. And I would be in shock that amount of time came by. But I never, ever saw myself as doing it for a living.
Right.
And I suppose in hindsight, I was kind of just a little stubborn, which happens.
Right. Interesting. And how do they make you feel? Because I always think that how we feel when we do something is a real telltale sign that that's something we should be doing more of.
Singing with the bowls in the way that I did when I was doing it in my own personal meditation was very liberating, very opening, just kind of opening up and allowing myself to move into a space of complete vulnerability and allowing whatever needs to come through. And it was extremely potent. I had some of the most amazing experiences that defy reality by doing that, moving into
Do share.
whatever. I remember one morning, I'd probably been going for about probably one of the mornings where I was up over a few hours, and I stopped and I was just like in a different state of mind. I just kind of completely zoned out, wide open. And I went outside and there was just the sun was creating all these sundogs, but in a way that it was like taking up the whole sky. And I was like someplace completely different experiencing this, and had, a lot of connections and memories come in, and a lot of stuff like that was happening around that time. I've written blog posts about it, about all the different crazy stuff that's happened. But that was one I remember very specifically, of doing the sound for a while and then just going outside and just being someplace completely else. The sky was, it was absolutely amazing. I took pictures of it, and I have them somewhere, probably in like 2013 or 14 in my Facebook photo albums. But yeah, just like state of consciousness that was completely removed from this space. And I've experienced that before, but never with like the visuals and actually feeling like
Yeah,
I was
wow.
someplace else.
And do you think that triggered past life memories, though? Do you think that's what it was? It was taking you back
Yes,
or forward or?
yeah, I think vibrationally, the resonant, the state of resonance I was in was moving into alignment with that in such a way that it was kind of like a crossover point.
You said you were stubborn. You were kind of like, you didn't think you would be making a living out of it. So what did the universe do to kind of finally get you to see your path?
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much that I didn't think I could make a living at it, because that wasn't even, I don't even think I was worried about that. I certainly was living very frugally, but it really just wasn't even on my radar. And what it really was I was absolutely horrified of the thought of ever doing what I did by myself in front of anyone ever. It was absolutely mortifying. Um, and synchronicities kept happening, but it was still kind of very resistant to it. And like I said a few minutes ago, at that time I was just teaching guitar online all over the world a couple days a week, and able to survive comfortably enough that way. But all of a sudden, magically, all my students dried up within less than 2 weeks of each other, probably within like a 1 week period. It was like noticeably something is going on. And at the same time, I had started doing some sound healing work, but I was only playing the bowls. I wasn't actually doing what I did at home. I was just doing sound baths with just the singing bowls. But then when everything dried up, and a few months went by of, living off my savings, and things are starting to run extremely thin, I decided to see what it would be like to actually try what I was doing by myself with groups of people. And I think I booked 3 events over the course of a long weekend, and maybe 3 events in 4 days or something like that, just because I
Mhm.
knew if I did one and it was bumpy, I'd never do it again. So
Oh, very good.
give myself
Yeah.
a fighting chance. And I went out, and every single one of them went extremely well. And one of them was actually a wellness fair. And from that, I got offered a lot of other events, and it just like instantly took off.
Wow.
And I
Viral.
got offered quite a few events, and it, within a very short amount of time, became my main source of income. And
Wow.
it
Fantastic.
was a little horrifying at first, but like with anything, thinking about it is always like way more difficult than actually doing it.
You know, I
And
can,
then
I can, I can so relate to that because, like, I think just for people listening, because obviously a lot of people are on that journey. Like, I remember the same as you. I desperately wanted to be doing what I'm doing now, but I was so in my head about it, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And actually, what you did was brilliant. You just got out there and you did it, and you did it 3 times, not just once, to kind of push you through the pain barrier almost. And
yeah,
here you are.
and all 3 were amazing. There was never anything to worry about. But yeah, it's really the fear of, with what I was doing, the willingness to put myself in that state of vulnerability that I need to just kind of open up and allow the sound to come through the way that it does. Doing that in front of people was mortifying. I've done hundreds of events at this point, so I've gotten used to it. Still do get
But what was
nervous.
the difference between that and then or playing the guitar?
Well, the guitar, it's all choreograph's not the word, because it's not like we were a dance band, but it's, you're playing a song and it's a set thing, and we were rolling with light rigs and stuff, so it's all to a click, and it's like same thing every night. And I was the guitarist. I didn't have to sing in front of anybody, although I had already gotten comfortable with that by the time I started doing the sound work. But completely different. The way that I do sound is, to me, kind of a very vulnerable place to be, just kind of opening up and allowing anything to come through without judgment. It's something that was difficult for me to do at first in front of anybody. You
Sure.
get used to it, and you get more confident, and you get, it's not necessarily confidence, but just like trusting in the process,
Yeah.
and trusting in yourself
Yeah.
to be able to do what is coming up.
Yeah. And I think that's a really valid point because obviously for people listening, you know, that's the thing, is that you can stay in that place of shall I, shan't I, shall I, shan't I, I'm nervous, I'm not good enough, la la la. But
Mm,
actually, at some stage, you just got to rip the band-aid off. And actually, that's what we do, Ben, in our Dharma Life Academy. Is a lot of the people that
mm,
join us are making this transition. And so obviously they've got a ready-made community behind them to support them when they do their first gig or they do their first class, or, and it helps them have that support and that courage to step into their Dharma and their purpose.
yeah,
Uh,
that is so, so important. So that's awesome. Good for you, because that's amazing. That's such an important service to offer, and so important to have. I definitely had that myself. I had a lot of people that were coming out to support me in the early days, and I was not in a place where I was always completely surrounded by strangers, but a lot of times I was, I suppose. But having that support, having that connection is such an important thing to have.
And talk to me now about the work that you do, because obviously it is sound healing per se. So, is it such that someone can listen to your music and get healed? Like, how does it work from a vibrational frequency healing perspective?
People have certainly shared with me experiences of that happening, but my take on it is, this the sound is kind of affecting the state of consciousness of the person to where they get to the point where they're able to actually initiate those changes within themselves. I look at sound healing, from my perspective, anyways, as something that helps facilitate different states of consciousness. And, we human beings are extremely powerful creators, and a lot of times it's the programming that's running at the front of the brain that's holding us back from that. And if we can get down past that into deeper states of consciousness and allow shifts to happen, um, we're able to move through that stuff and integrate different things with much more ease. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and I could completely relate to that because I've had experiences where I've had a headache, for example, and then I've kind of gone into my being, like my higher awareness, higher states of consciousness, and that headache leaves me.
Mm.
So it's almost like you said, you're raising their frequency to a place where they become more connected to their being state, which enables them then to process or let go of whatever it is that's causing them the health problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, exactly. Raising your frequency up, raising your state of vibration, shifting your resonance, it changes everything.
Beautiful. And I'd love to hear, because like obviously, when you were on your path, I bet you got some amazing synchronicities to kind of, you know, show you that you were going the right direction. So I don't know if there's any kind of crazy stories that you can share with us about your journey and how you knew that you were kind of on the right path. Obviously, having that out of body weird experience with the singing bowls is a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I've had many experiences. One specifically that I was on the right path. I mean, my whole life I've had some interesting energetic experiences, but things. I always feel like when I'm working with groups, I'm connecting to different energies, and I've actually seen myself inside of stone temples in and stuff like that, or crystalline structures. But yeah, I mean, I've had so many potent and amazing synchronicities, but they're just not coming to mind right now. My whole life is kind of guided by synchronicity at this point. I've really learned to trust the process, even not exactly what you asked, but moving into what I'm been doing the past couple months, or the past however 6 months or so. The band that went into hiatus actually decided to do a new album, and I was not so sure about that because I'm in a completely different space. Didn't
Of
want
course, yeah, a different place you
didn't
were.
really feel called to do it, and I was really torn, but I kept having very specific synchronicities that were pretty much saying to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and that is 100% why I ended up getting back with the band, that I've been in for 20 years at this point, and doing another album. We just did a big virtual concert, and at some point we're supposedly going to go out and play some shows, but that was not something that I was resisting it very much. I just didn't really want to go back to that to that lifestyle, go back to playing rock music. I don't even listen to rock music anymore. But yeah, very specific synchronicities kept coming up. One in particular, there's like a series of numbers that I associate specifically with the singer of the band, and it would always tend to come up when I was thinking about it and trying to decide if that was, if I really wanted to be doing that. And it was so obvious that, eventually I stopped resisting it after about the 60th or 70th time.
Wow.
Because I'm still stubborn.
But I love what you said about trusting the process, because I think that's the thing, is when you lean into your spiritual path,
Mm.
You often are doing things and you don't like. For me, I've been doing things and I didn't really understand why. I got the call to write a program, and I just, I followed it, and I follow the downloads that I get. I don't necessarily know where it's going. And often when I look back, I can suddenly say, oh, this is why they've had me doing this. It's like you can join all the dots. And I think that's what we have to learn when we accept that we're going to follow our spiritual paths and we're going to be the best human we can possibly be, is that trusting the process is so, letting go, trusting the process is just such an important part of it.
Mm-hmm. Very much. I agree wholeheartedly. And it's usually a little scary, but I actually tend to find that those things that scare you, not like get attacked by a bear kind of scary, but the things that make you nervous and afraid and hesitant are really the things that you're kind of deeper
Meant to
inside
do.
wanting to do, and just resisting on a level of conscious, on a level of just societal training.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of what do they say? Our greatest fear is our greatest something or other. I can't remember, but it's like the way where you have the fear, you've got to feel it and do it anyway. And that was certainly the case in my journey. Was although it scared the crap out of me doing what I'm doing, like I wouldn't change it for the world now. It's I think, again, for people listening, this is the most incredible journey that you'll ever take, to sort of lean into who you are at soul level, and really fulfill the fulfillment of that. But you do have to push through all the conditioning that we've been given.
Yeah, and it's not always easy, but taking the leap of faith, in my experience, taking that leap of faith and moving into it in whatever way opens up the most amazing and potent experiences that this reality has to offer. It's just, that's when things just blow up and get pulled wide open, and just pulls you up to a completely different level. Moving into that space, overcoming those fears seem to be extremely.
I work with a pendulum, Ben, and I'll always ask the pendulum the questions of what I need to do, or what, I don't know, what training I need to do next, or whether I should do something. And 9 times out of 10, it's something that I would like. I've just signed up for something recently where I've got so much resistance to it. But when I ask the pendulum, it says yes. And that's, I know that's my higher self saying, no, you've got to do it. And I was like, really?
Yeah, that's a great practice.
Well, it works. And actually, I get my community doing that as well, because it's such a good way. And obviously, as we ascend into these higher states of consciousness and awareness, we are integrating our higher self. So the more we can connect to it and really befriend it and trust it, like you said, trust the process, then, but be warned, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah. Yep.
So what is next? What's next on the agenda in Ben's world? What are you conquering next, or creating next?
Well, I'm always doing online events. Those have become really amazing. Moving into doing the sound work online, I've incorporated, in person, I was using just singing bowls and voice and some solfeggio tubes here and there. But doing the online events, I've been able to incorporate elements like binaural beats and synth pads and different percussion elements. Like I sampled my own native frame drums and shakers and stuff like that. So I've been doing online events that have been going very, very well. So I tend to do at least one big event a month. And then, the Raw album just came out 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, somewhere around there. So we did a big virtual concert, and at some point we're supposed to go out on the road and play some shows, which will be interesting. It's been a while. But yeah, so many amazing things happening all the time. And, I'm actually excited to see where the world is headed, because right now
Yeah.
we've kind of been in a place where we've been forced into a space where we're able to just kind of let go. But I feel like a slingshot's been being pulled back, and at some point things are just going to open up. We've all been allowed to, or forced to, kind of settle down and and take a break from our normal lives. And I feel like it's opened up a lot of our opportunities. And at the same time, we have all these higher frequency energies that have been coming in and affecting us more and more to a greater and greater degree for years now. I've been talking about this for years, and
Mm.
I've really seen and experienced it to a much higher degree in the past year and a half.
It does feel like things are speeding up. Like I would
Mm.
say last year for me was like a lot of my psychic capabilities and intuitive capabilities came online more than they've ever been before. And I agree with you. I really feel that evolution. So it is fascinating times on the planet, really, really fascinating. And a lot more souls are on this journey than they were before, which is encouraging.
Yeah, so many people are waking up and starting to see things in different ways, and become more in tune with the higher parts of themselves. And that, just that's why so many people are trying to find, feeling completely uninspired by what they've been doing up to this point in their lives, and trying to find new ways of being. And, it's challenging, but like that's the same exact thing, that place of being in a space where you're afraid to do something, but also it's what you should be doing.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, and that's the whole aim of this podcast to empower and inspire people to do that. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your story, because I know that people listening will just feel really uplifted and really encouraged that actually they can create the life that they want out of doing the thing that they love.
Yeah, and I think when we're able to move into those spaces of alignment, that the game is rigged in our favor. If we're able to just like move into a little bit more of an alignment with our higher self, things just tend to unravel in ways that you would never even
Mm,
be able to put into a story.
mm,
Things just line
mm.
up so perfectly. My experience from moving 10 years ago to now, I would have never in a million years been able to even imagine doing what I'm doing now, or going through the experiences I've had in the past 10 years. And it always, I always feel guided. And like I said, I've gotten used to kind of following that guidance. And when you get into that place where you're able to kind of listen and tune in and allow yourself to do that, even though it might be slightly scary, life becomes magical and amazing in ways
Mm.
that is just
Unfathomable. Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose for people listening, if you are in that on that journey and you're transitioning out of the 3D, do it. It will never regret it. Like it's not an easy journey, I wouldn't say, but I would just say it's the most rewarding journey you'll ever take. And like you said, the incredible synchronicities that you get. Like I genuinely got to the point now where I just just surrender and trust all the time, because you just don't know what is happening, but I know it's happening for my highest good. So you know that's it. You just gotta relax and trust the process.
Yeah, my experience is identical. Yeah.
So Ben, how can people find you? I know you're on Instagram. Where's the best place for them to come and say hello?
My website, innerselfsustained.com, has, portals to Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff. Yeah.
Innerselfsustained.com.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll make sure we have that in the podcast show notes as well. And this will be coming out on Friday, the first Friday in April, and will be on the YouTube channel, and it will also be on our podcast app and everything. So thank you so much. So appreciate you coming on. Love your story, love your work, love your journey. And love you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. It's wonderful to have a good conversation and just hang out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dharma Life podcast. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Please come over and say hello on my Instagram, our Facebook group, and also please let me know what you thought. So if you are listening, please take a screenshot of the podcast that you are listening to. tag me on Instagram and I will reshare your post. And please let me know what it is that you got out of today's episode. Remember, when we do our Dharma, we are happier, healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace.